Okay, so we're going to continue. I don't know what was the last one. I think we divided and got a fraction, did we?
Yeah, it was like part of 3.1.
Did we finish it?
Yes.
Okay. So that was a 3 or a 4, so let's hit them up to a 5 now. 5.
Uncharted territory.
So we're at a number 5 on completing the square. And this is what a number 5 looks like. Now, this is going to be different. So I'm going to put it in level, difficulty level, number 5. I'm going to put it in red because this is where we start to see a different additional step added to complete the square.
Mr. Hubert,
Yes.
we cannot see your.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
work.
didn't hit present. I waited. Thank you for mentioning it. Of course, Pendleton, they just sit there, you know, like a tit on a bull. All right. Well, I'm trying to. There we go. Leave it to the female to communicate. Guys just sit there like Patrick Starfish.
Are you okay, Patrick? I love it.
All right, here we go. So negative x squared plus, I'm going to be easy with you, 2x minus 5 is equal to 0. So what's different about this parabola?
It's going down.
It's opening downward, concave down. So you've got to address that negative before you do anything. Now you can go ahead and move C. So go ahead and move C and add your blanks. But at that point, you've got to address the negative before you complete the square. Now, this is also true if that's a -2 or a -3 or a -1/2 right here. Okay? This negative, when you see a negative, a -1, a -2, a -1/2 in front of that x squared, you have to follow the same procedure. So the first thing I'm going to do is move C. -x squared plus 2x plus blank is equal to 5 plus blank. Now I'm going to factor out the negative coefficient. Now you got to be careful here because whatever you factor out, you're going to have to multiply by the right side blank. Whatever you factor out, you've got to multiply by the right hand side blank. Now that's in layman's terms. That's not in sophisticated academia terms. So make sure you write it however you want to. So that means that this negative is going to have to be factored out. So here we go. I'm going to factor out, and I'm going to write it as -1 because if that was a -2 or a -1/2, what would I factor out? A -2 or a -1/2. So you got to make sure you remember that. And that will leave a positive x squared minus 2x plus blank is equal to 5 plus, and I'm going to multiply this right hand side blank by -1. Now you can go back to completing the square. That's good. If it looked bad, I'd tell you. So what is 2 divided by 2?
1.
And then you square 1 and add 1 on both sides. Yes, sir.
So we have to move C before we around.
Yes, now you can complete the square another way. There's 3 different methods of completing the square. So why don't I show the different methods? Because they are more confusing than this method. Through the years, I have found that this method is a whole lot easier and it's more methodical. And if it's methodical, people can latch on better. It's more methodical. And yes, you have, now in the other methods, you don't have to move C. You just do everything on the left-hand side and leave a 0 on the right-hand side. But students don't like that method. I've found that it's more confusing for students for that method, and I don't teach that method. Okay? So, yes, you do move C. So, in fact, if you want to, make sure you put a little note up here. You have to do this first. Okay? No matter what. Move C and add the blanks. You have to do that first. Then, if there's a negative in front out here, that has to be addressed before you can complete the square. Now the biggest mistake y'all will make is y'all will try to do both, and that's not going to work. Now, I can complete the square. This comes first. This comes second. So we're going to complete the square now. So I'm going to take my green pen and I'm going to say 2 divided by 2 raised to the second power is 1. And I'm going to have 1 here and I'm going to add a 1 here. And now all of it is algebra 1 and algebra 2. So now you can solve it. Just like we did before. Yes?
Would that be a negative or a plus sign?
What? Where?
After negative x, because you took out.
No, you don't have to worry about that because what's positive 0 and negative 0? That blank is a 0. So it doesn't matter. But that's a good question. All right, so now all of you should be able to finish and graph the parabola. You know what the ridges are for? It's open up the wound so they bleed faster.
Yay!
Oh my gosh, this is a terrorist. I need to call security. Oh my gosh. You hear about students that have mace and stuff, they have to send it to the office and stuff like that. I said, oh, no, not my daughter. I said, let somebody tell her. I said, keep that mace on your keychain. I ain't kidding, these schools done got crazy. I'm talking college. I'm gonna resign and I'm gonna go to work for the Ukraine. That's what I'm doing. And make $50,000 a month like Joe Biden's son did. I'm gonna do that. Say Pocahontas is coming up. Pocahontas may be the Democratic nominee. Okay, here we go. So -1 x squared minus, shortcut number 2. That's x minus what? X minus 1, quantity squared, equals 5 minus 1 is 4. And at this point, your vertex is 1, comma, -4. And I'll go ahead and write f of x is equal to -1 times x minus 1 minus 4. And remember, that's intercept method, and the intercept method is what they like, and of course, what's the opposite of -1? 1, and -4 comes down, so the vertex is the same no matter which way you do it. You just got to do it a different way. So, let me make this small. Really? Battery's already going dead. There we go. So, now, bring this over here, or bring -1, x minus 1 quantity squared is equal to 4. Now we're going to solve for x. Divide by -1, x minus 1 quantity squared is equal to -4. At this point, what do we know?
There's
No x what?
intercept.
Intercepts, because we have a negative. We're going to have a negative under the what? Under the radical. But we're going to keep going because some homework and test questions want you to put it in form of the radical. So, an I. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides, and I'm going to highlight this red, knowing I don't usually highlight in red. So that negative right there, no x-intercept. So x minus 1 is equal to the square root of -1 times the square root of 4. And x minus 1 is equal to 2i. And x is equal to 2i, or 1 plus or minus 2i, or 2i plus 1, whichever one you want to do. And so where is my vertex? My vertex is at 1 and -4. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And our y-intercept is -5. And which way is it going?
Down.
It's opening down. So therefore you do not have x-intercepts. Okay, so the domain is all real numbers, or -infinity to +infinity. Range is -infinity to what? -4. And increasing, -infinity to 1, sorry. And decreasing from 1 to infinity. And the line of symmetry is x is equal to 1. So you need to make a note of that step, the green highlight. When you have a negative in front of the x squared, you have to factor whatever coefficient it is. This in case the next one's going to be 2. Or something else. You have to factor that out. So now we're going to bump it up to a number 6, or technically 5, but it may be a number 6 because I'm going to put a odd number or the opposite number in the middle, so it'll have a fraction. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep it on number 5, and we're just going to do an easy one, an easy factor out. Okay, everybody got that? All right. Let's move on. Let's try one this time with a coefficient other than 1. So, negative 2x squared minus 4x minus 11 is equal to 0. And I want you to take a couple of minutes and see what you can do there. And if you can't finish it, don't worry about it. I'm not expecting everybody to finish it. If you finish it, great. But I know to a lot of people this is new. Unless you invented completing the square, which some of you probably think you did. You know, I'm going to have to get the janitorial staff to wipe down these tables. Those rings have been on that table for, what, a week? Bothers me to death. Fixing to go get me a wipe and wipe them down. That bothers me. Rings on furniture bothers
We
the
just
heck.
had a cockroach crawling around over here.
It's protein. Dang old dogs will eat turnip greens after 2 or 3 days. You get hungry enough, you'll eat just about anything. Oh, I'm not hungry. I'll just drink water. No sneezing in class. Need to lay off the Marlboros cause of sneeze. No, I'm sorry, vapes. Yeah, you need to lay off the vaping. I swear if I see one more person vape on the news, I think I'm going to scream. Why don't they just pour a quart of motor oil down in their lung? I'm sorry, OIL. I said oil, sorry. Oil. Speaking of South Carolina, who really, well, I'm not going to say South Carolina sucks because the players don't suck. They're actually some decent players. But guess who has the toughest schedule in college football? South Carolina. They not only play number 1, number 2, and number 3. They play number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5, number 8, number 7, number 7, and like number 12.
Couldn't it be North Carolina?
Meanwhile, Clemson is playing Tri-County Technical College.
I'm sure.
They're not Carolina.
I got Carolina close to Apple.
I can only hope that Alabama, LSU, and Georgia are playing people next week, but they could be playing cupcakes. Alabama had a cupcake this weekend, and I'm like, this is number 1 and number 2 in the nation, and they're still playing cupcakes. What, the 4th week? I just don't understand it. I know it's money, but good gracious. It's about like the 6th grader beating up on the 3rd grader. About the 3rd, 4th time, it gets old.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it is.
How about the first time?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be funny. -2, somebody's going to get offended. 4x plus blank is equal to 11 plus blank. Okay, so now we're ready to take out a -2. I'm going to put it in blue. I'm going to factor out a -2. And that's going to give me x squared. Your objective is to make the x squared function what? +1. That's what you want. You want a +1 in front of the x squared. Does everybody understand that? Pendleton, quieten down, please. All right. What's -4x divided by -2?
Let's do it.
And I've got to multiply that -2 times that blank. Now there's a derivation to show you why you have to do that. But unless you really want to see it, just take my word for it. Okay? Half to 2, we'll do this in Verde. I'll do it over here out of the way. 2 divided by 2 squared is equal to 1. So we're going to put a 1 here and a 1 there. And that's going to give you -2 times x plus 1 quantity squared is equal to, what's 11 minus 2?
9.
Dang it. I tell you what, we're going to change something. We're going to change something. It'll only take 1 little second. Change this to a plus.
Oh, dang.
And that's going to make this a negative what? -13. Yeah, just come on in whenever, that's fine. -13. Make that change, please. I changed this to a positive because I want to show you something. Now you may think no x-intercepts right here. Are you right for thinking that? No, you're not. Why?
Because you're divided by
Hey, I feel faint. Yes, you're going to divide by -2, and that's going to give you a positive 13 halves. Okay?
my friend is gone.
Oh my gosh, you brought food. What do? Work at Chick-fil-A, get it for free?
No, I bought that.
Oh my goodness.
We're missing a person.
Okay, somebody needs to be offended because we're eating Chick-fil-A. Yeah, be offended.
I guess.
I wish we could share it with y'all, but this isn't Walk-A-Vision. I can't hand y'all a piece, okay? There's only some limitations, so if you want to be offended that Anderson's got food, I'm sorry. All right, finish it out.
I'm bad.
I'm triggered.
What'd you say?
I'm triggered.
We're mad.
Oh God, he's triggered. Like that chick of the climate. I got a question. I asked y'all this question Friday, didn't I? About Obama's island.
Yeah, why would he buy it?
Yeah, why would he buy it if climate control and whatever is raising the waters of the ocean? And all them people in D.C. was protesting, saying the politicians need to do something about climate control. I think they need to go over to China and India where they're like burning coal like by the thousands, and their emissions is like up here, and we're like in the negative.
Suck in greenhouse gases.
I think it's hilarious. People are not informed very well. You think China cares about the environment? You think China cares about, or Russia cares about where they drill for OIL? No.
Oil.
OIL. I said OIL. Yeah, I can see Vladimir Putin say, "Oh, we don't need to drill there. There's a lizard there. We don't need to drill." Yeah, I can see that.
How has he been president for like 20 years or whatever?
That's the way you are president when you kill people.
Yeah.
Why do you think the guy in Venezuela is doing what he's doing? Dictator. That's the difference. That's communism and socialism. Oh, wait a minute. We got to find our vertex. What's our vertex? -1 and +13. Vertex. -1 and 13. Or f of x is equal to -2 times x plus 1 quantity squared plus 13, and what's the horizontal shift of +1? Left 1. And what's the vertical shift of 13? 13. So there is the vertex if you do by the intercept method. Go over here. -2 times x plus 1 quantity squared is equal to -13. Divide by -2. And that gives you x plus 1 quantity squared is equal to positive 13 halves. So what you thought was no x-intercepts is now what? You have x-intercepts. Now it's not that bad because all you're going to do is change 1 to 2 halves and you can bring it over. So it's not that big of a deal unless y'all want to make it that big of a deal. So x plus 1 is equal to the square root of 13 over the square root of 2. And I'm going to bring over minus the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. What is square root of 2 over square root of 2? 1. So and that gives us equals square root of 13 minus square root of 2 over 2. Now the square root of 13 is, let's see, the square root of 9. We said it was, I think we said it was 3.6 before, right? So x is equal to positive or negative 3.6 minus 1.4, and that's going to be plus or minus, over 2. And 3.6 plus 1.4, that's going to give you what? 5. So we know that 5 is 1 x-intercept. Negative 3.6 minus, that's negative 5. And that's probably going to be your, if you take 3.6, see, I think I messed up. There's too many x-intercepts there. I should have picked 14 instead of, anyway. Let's go ahead and do it. We know that it's opening downward. We know -1 and positive 13, so -1 and positive 13. And we know that 11 is going to be there. I would say probably -5 and positive 5 is the x-intercepts.
Watch some cat seizure.
What?
And so it's making noise.
Y'all are making noise. Who was that?
That was Penn.
Pendleton, are you okay?
That was Oconee.
Oh, it was Oconee? Okay. Because heaven forbid y'all make any noise. Okay, are we going to sit here and look at this or what? Y'all need to pass it around. Or set it up or something if y'all going to eat it. Okay. Question. All right, complaint. All right, let's do a nerd.
Wait, I do have a question.
Yes.
How do you get from the square root of 2 and then to 2?
Okay, let's put a square root of 2 right there. Sorry. Thank you. That's right. You got it right. Let's be square root of 2. So you're going to have to divide by 1.4. My bad. Oh, I didn't divide either, so
Is that another one?
I'll leave. Thank you. So you're going to have to use your calculator on this one because I'm not Rain Man and neither are y'all. So you're going to have to divide by the square root of 2 right here. Okay? Or just, at this point, you should be using your calculator also to graph this to check it, but you should see them line up. That's really not the problem I wanted. I should have put a 12 here instead of, I should have put an easier problem to divide by. That's my mistake. Okay? So let's do another one. This time we're going to move it up to about a 6. Okay? This time, we're going to factor out a negative, but the middle number is not going to be as easily divisible. So, negative 2x squared plus 3x minus, I'm just going to do minus or plus 1, is equal to 0. All right, now go ahead and work on that one. Now remember, you've got to factor out a negative 2, so that's going to make a fraction, and then you have to divide by 2. So you're going to have to use a couple of steps here. Because we're talking about a 6 or a 7 right now. So what are you going to do first? Move C and add your what? Add your blanks. So negative 2x squared plus 3x plus blank is equal to negative 1 plus blank. Now what are we going to factor out? A negative 2. So we got to put a negative 2 there. And that's going to leave us with x squared minus 3 halves x plus blank is equal to negative 1 plus, and then we got to multiply that negative 2 times that right side blank. Whatever we factor out, we have to multiply on the right side. Now this is very important. I'm going to write out everything. I'm not going to try to do it between the line, two blue lines of your notebook paper like some of y'all try to do. So I'm going to take B, divide by 2, and square it. So when you divide by a fraction, you multiply by what? Now I want you to tell me how that was difficult. Sorry. That wasn't difficult, but why do people screw it up? Because they don't know how to do fractions. And they think they have to do all of that in their head. That's why people mess this up. One, they don't know how to do it, or two, they try to do it in their head. So I want you to make sure you highlight this in your notes, because this is how you should do. When you have a fraction here, this is what you should be doing. Unless you're good at it. And if you're good at it, then you get 10 out of 10 problems right. Okay? So now we have shortcut number 2, and that's going to be negative 2 times x minus 3 halves quantity squared is equal to negative 1 minus what? 18 what? Fourths, and that's going to change that 1 to a 4/4. So I'm going to change that 1 to a 4/4. So that's going to give us negative 2 times x minus 3 halves quantity squared is equal to, what's negative 4 minus 18? Negative 22/4. And now you can write your vertex down. Yes, sir.
Shouldn't the 3 divided by 2 squared actually be a 3 divided by 4 squared, and making that?
That's what I had to begin with, didn't I? I thought I had that to begin with. My bad. Didn't I have a 4 there? I thought I had a 4 there. My bad. That's 16. See, I make mistakes too. So that's going to be a 16 there and a 16 there, which means this is going to be 18 over 16. And you can reduce that, but I'm not going to mess it up anymore. So I'm just going to change this to 16 over 16. Or we can change this, take this 2 out. That's a 1 and an 8, so 9/8. So that's going to make a 9/8 minus 9/8, and that will make this 8/8. Sorry about that. It's just this elementary math, so it shouldn't take you too far off. All right, so we got -2, x minus 3/2 quantity squared is equal to -17/8. And now your vertex, and I'm going to write it up top, and I'm not going to write I think we've done like how many problems? 5 problems, and I've shown you how to get the intercept method. The intercept equation. I'm not going to do that with this one, okay? So that's going to be a 3/2, comma, 17/8. There's your vertex. Now we're going to solve. Divide by -2. Divide by -2 over 1, which means you multiply by 1 over what? 2. X minus 3/2 quantity squared is equal to positive 17/16. Take the square root of both sides. X minus 3/2 is equal to the square root of 17 over 4. And I'm going to change this to 9 over 4 when I bring it over. Okay? Because you got to have what to add fractions? Got to have a common what? Again, that's 5th through 7th grade stuff, so you should know that. So don't act like, why'd you change that to 9/4? Don't ask that question. You're in college algebra. Okay? X is equal to square root of 17 plus 9 over 4. And the square root of 17, if the square root of 16 is 4, what is the square root of 17? 4.1. So X is equal to 4.1, positive or negative, plus 9. Do you have a question? Over 4. Do you have a question?
Why would it be 4.1 instead of 4.2?
If you want to get technical, we could put 4.2, or you could put 4.15 if you want to. All right, so what's 4 plus 9?
13.
So 13.1, what's 13.1 divided by 4? Well, 4 will go into 13 3 times, right? 4 will go into 3, it'll leave 1.1, and 4 will go into 1.1 or 11 2 times. So I'm going to say 3.2-ish. Somebody check my math.
No.
What's 4.1 plus 9 divided by 4? I'm sorry, what?
Did I do that wrong?
What's 13.1 divided by 4?
You have a work email.
3.2.
Okay. 3.3. Okay, now go the other way. What's negative $4.10? You owe somebody $4.10. You have $9. If you give them $4.10, how much you got in your pocket? $4.90, right? So $4.90, this ain't hard. 4 will go into 4 one time. And how many times will 4 go into 9? 2. And that'll leave 10. I'm going to say 1.22. Somebody check my math there. And there's your 2x intercepts. Now draw it up and let's do the domain and range and all that good stuff. Draw it up. Now, we'll tell you, why do we start losing people on this one? We start losing people because people don't know how to do fractions. Okay? So you need to get it together on your fractions, okay? Because all of these rules with fractions is stuff you should have learned. Now, by the time we get through, you're gonna know them, but don't feel overwhelmed right now because it's not your fault. Somebody didn't give you their money's worth. Your money's worth. They told you to use a calculator and you never have to use fractions. Yeah. Like I said, you didn't get your money's worth. So here we go. So 3 halves is 1 1/2. 17 divided by 8 is 2 1/8. So 1 1/2, 2 1/8. Got it right in there. Okay, what's my x-intercepts? Negative 1.2 and 3.2. And what's my y-intercept? 1. Now mine, I don't have graph paper, so mine's a little bit off. Sorry about that. I suck. There. 0, 1. And that's 2. There we go. Something like that. Whatever. The whole point is you know what it looks like. All right, so domain, all real numbers. Please don't miss the domain on my test. If you do, don't tell anybody. Okay, range is going to be negative infinity to your y is 17/8. Negative infinity to 17/8. Oops, bracket. Increasing from negative infinity to 3 halves, decreasing from 3 halves to what? Positive infinity. And what's your line of symmetry? 3 halves. So everybody should be able to do that one. So we'll do another one here in just a second, and y'all will try it. So this is a number 6/7. All right? All right, let's try another one. Y'all learning? Negative, or let's just go with a positive. 3x squared plus 2x minus 7 is equal to 0. All right, try that one.
You have a work email. Like Elmo had like the Elmo mail alert. That's what it sounds like.
Oh, and I opened up y'all's 3.1 through 3.4 homework. Like I told you last week, I didn't want you working on it, so now you can work on it. The reason I didn't want y'all working on chapter 3 is because I didn't want you to get confused before you even started. I just really wanted y'all to be behind. That's what I wanted. So you just get discouraged and quit. Y'all are so locked onto this self-improvement, raising the bar. Don't y'all realize that Bernie's going to take care of y'all? I don't understand why y'all can't get that through y'all's head. Bernie's a man. Bernie's going to take care of everybody.
I just wait to touch you.
So, do we move C first?
Yup.
3x squared plus 2x plus blank is equal to 7 plus blank. Now we're going to factor out a 3. That's going to give us x squared plus 2/3 x plus blank is equal to 7 plus blank. And that 3 that we factored out is going to be multiplied by this right-hand side blank. Okay, now we got to do what I told y'all to do step by step. And if you do it step by step every time, you won't have a problem. So we're going to take 2/3 and we're going to divide by 2 over 1 and square it. 2/3 multiplied by what? When you divide by a fraction, you multiply by reciprocal. The 2's cancel. And what's 1/3 squared? Okay, again, this is all 5th, 6th grade stuff. So when you're telling me you're confused, what are you telling me? You didn't get your money's worth. All right, I'm going to let y'all finish it because I think you can. Watch that cocaine. It'll get you. Some high school students can't even handle cocaine now. That's a joke. This is a disclaimer. That was a joke for those of you that don't have a sense of humor. Yeah, humor? What's that? Yeah, y'all have to watch that chick that was talking about climate change in Washington. Y'all see it on Facebook? Y'all might have seen it. She started, and then she went crazy. She just lost it. Evidently. And there's something else I wanted to ask. What is one thing that insurance companies and banks are crazy about? Money, right? Why don't they worry about climate change like they worry about tornadoes and hurricanes and floods? You buy a house, do they talk about insurance for climate change? No. When the bank offers a 30-year loan, do they worry about whether you put your house in a climate change area? No. So if the banks are not worried about it, and the insurance is not worried about it, and Obama just built a $15 million house on the island, then should we worry about it?
It's like a SpongeBob underwater house.
Maybe that's what it is. He's going to have an underwater house. I just think I just don't like extremes. And these people, should we worry about the environment? Yes. Should we worry about, how the world cycles? Because it does cycle. Yes. Should we worry about science? Yes. Do we need to go overboard? No. Because China and India and Russia are just laughing at us. That's why they're kicking our butts in trade. Now they're not, but. Okay, y'all ready?
Maybe.
So settle down, Pendleton. This is your last warning. 3 times x plus 1/3 quantity squared is equal to, I'm going to go ahead and do the fraction first. What is 3 over 9? 1/3. So what am I going to change 7 to? Everybody should have said 21/3, just like that. It really bothers me that everybody didn't say that at one time. Because that's telling me that you're going, oh no. Okay. 3x plus 1/3 quantity squared is equal to 22/3. Now you're ready for the rest of it. So, what's your vertex? Write your vertex. That's negative 1/3 and negative 22/3. That's your vertex. So now we're going to solve. 3. Is my 10 minutes up?
Yes, sir.
Is it?
Yeah.
We're still combusting.
I mean, you got it.
Otherwise, definitely. Please.
So divide by 3. When you divide by 3 over 1, what do?
You multiply by two reciprocal.
1/3. 3. Oh, that's x plus 1/3 quantity squared is equal to 22 over what? 9. X plus 1/3 is equal to the square root of 22 over 3. And what is the square root of 22? If 5 is the square root of 25, I say 4.8. What is it? 4.7? What is it? I don't know. I'm just guessing. Square root of 22, what is it?
4.6 and 4.7.
Okay, 4.6. Positive or negative 4.6 minus 1 over 3. And what's $4.60 minus 1? And 360 divided by 3 is 120. Negative 4.6 is negative 5.6. So that's going to be negative 1. I have no idea. 1 point what? Somebody do negative 5.6 divided by 3. What do you get?
Negative 56.
5.6 divided by 3.
Negative 1.8.
1.8. And there's your 2x intercepts. All right, remember we got to finish this one when y'all come back. My 10-minute class is over. Everybody's here. Anderson, everybody. Okay, everybody's here. Y'all get out of here. What?